This must be a Baptist crowd, Pastor Hogg, because it looks like one of those crowds that thinks that there has to be something added to believing in Jesus in order to get into heaven, and that is you got to bring a covered dish with you. You all go ahead and continue to eat. In the interest of time, we're going to proceed with our program. I know David, and there's two Davids at this table, and I know both of you are going to go ahead and eat anyway, so I'll just give you that permission to do that, and the rest of the folks. I want to introduce to you a young lady that I just met today. I actually have heard a lot about her and felt like I knew her already. But Miss Alisa Childers is with us. She is far more famous than I am, and I'm looking, and she's had a lot more writing success than I've had. Let's see, I've been in the Decision magazine and the Christian Post, and she's got about 5 or 6 more than I do. So she's very worthy and well qualified in that respect. Let me tell you what I'm proud of her for. She is a student here at Southern Evangelical Seminary, and she is perhaps one of our more famous students, but she's not unlike some other students that we have. The word that we're getting back is what an impact SES is having on the lives of young people and old people and middle-aged people when they come in contact with this. I was talking with David Geisler earlier today, and the thought that we expressed one to the other was there seems to be an excitement present at this conference that maybe has not been there in the recent times. And I think that that's indicative of people who are anxious to hear the word of the Lord, not only to build themselves up, but to be able to pass that along to someone else. There's a statistic that just came out this week, and I want to use it in my talk tonight. 76% of Christian parents in our nation are very concerned that their children will fall away from the faith. That's a startling statistic in our day and time. But I want to draw you back to Alisa. I just want to thank you, Alisa, for having the impact on our culture that you've had. You and I have one other thing in common, and that is that we're coming from the culture back into the faith. That's what drew me to SES, by the way. I was having a little bit of a crisis of faith and happened to meet a gentleman by the name of Norm Geisler. And I came to take one course. And after that conversation with Norm, I think it lasted a little over an hour, maybe an hour and a half. I left his office, David, signed up for the Doctor of Ministry program at Southern Evangelical Seminary. So at any rate, Alisa is a popular speaker. She speaks on apologetics and Christian worldview, of which we're all very concerned about as we sit here. She is the second of 4 daughters. Is that correct? So I've got 4 daughters, so I kind of understand her situation in life. So Alisa, will you come and share with us? She has a wonderful singing voice and a wonderful musician, but she's even got a greater testimony. Would you welcome with me Alisa Childers?
Thank you. It's so weird. I've always had this weird dream to sing at this conference, and I didn't ask to sing. They asked me to sing, so I was like, thank you, Lord. That's a sweet little full circle moment for me. I'm not sure what that's about, but my story, SES, is integral to my story. Many years ago, as a lifelong Christian, I found myself in a situation in which there was a pastor, my pastor, who invited me to be a part of a small group in the church. And it was in the context of this small group that he told us that secretly he was an agnostic. He said, I'm a hopeful agnostic. And I didn't quite know what that all meant, but what ended up happening is that over the course of the 4 months that I was in this class, virtually everything that I had ever held dear and that I had believed about Jesus and God, and particularly about the Bible, was picked apart, explained away. It was deconstructed. And while I was in the class, I would try to debate with him. I didn't know any of these arguments. I actually thought he thought of all these questions. I didn't know that these questions had been being answered for 2,000 years, but I did my best. But it wasn't until we actually left the class in the church that all of the doubts that he planted began to take root in my own heart, and they grew. And that threw me into my own process of deconstruction. And I remember just crying out to God one night and saying, God, if you exist, if you're real, if everything that I've ever believed since I was a little girl is true about you, then you got to show up. But I needed him to show up not in an emotional or even a spiritual way, because this pastor had persuaded me that every time I felt the presence of God in a worship service or in a Bible study, that was just synapses in my brain firing in response to sociological stimuli that I felt warm about. And it had to be intellectual, and I didn't know there was anybody out there that could answer these questions. I didn't know any Christians who could answer the questions. And so I'm so thankful to the Lord that he led me to the study of apologetics. And it's part of my story that happened. The first exposure I had was through Ravi Zacharias. And then through that, I found SES almost immediately. And I began auditing classes at SES. Now, I was just at this time, I wasn't a musician anymore. I was a stay-at-home mom in a crisis of faith with 2 very, very young babies. And I audited these classes and probably annoyed everybody in my class in the debate forums. And I'm looking at some of the professors that I had, and I'm so thankful for all of you, because I would email my questions and they would email me back, and they would give me resources and books to read. And SES helped my faith reconstruct. It was the primary. And David, your dad, I remember listening to Frank Turek's podcast, and then I heard him talk about the Big Bang, and I was worried. I was like, Frank Turek believes in the Big Bang. What am I going to do with that? And then I found this wonderful article by Norm Geisler about how old Earth creationism doesn't have any challenge to inerrancy. And it settled my heart, and I knew that this was a safe place to be. And so the Lord used so many of the faces I'm looking at tonight in my life, and I never dreamed that I would get to help other people. I never dreamed that for myself. But I look over the course of my life, and I see all of the situations the Lord had me in, all the heartbreaks, all of the trials, the sufferings, just the little skills I learned, my time in music. I started a nail polish company once and did that for about a year, learned so much from that. All the little skills along the way that the Lord has used in my life. And honestly, for me, that's the greatest apologetic for the existence of God, is when I look back on my life. And I know that there is no way all of those events could have lined up so perfectly to position me to be able to help people today. And so to be able to say I am now a 4-credit student at SES is so wonderful. And I took my first 4-credit class with Dr. Howe. So thankful. And so I'm going to sing a song for you tonight that I wrote at the end of my, I guess you could call it my reconstruction. And I was just thinking back at the sovereign hand of God, who has been with me every step of the way, who was with me in that class. I couldn't feel him, I didn't see him, I didn't know he was there, but he was there. And he saw from that perspective. He knew what was coming. He knows the end from the beginning. And he was watching all of this just with a smile on his face, knowing that. And I think we all have that story, right? We all have that way. God has worked that in our own lives. And so this song is recorded in my book, Another Gospel. It closes out the book. But after I wrote the book, I wrote a final verse, because there was something that happened after the song had been written and recorded, and that was that my family went through the sudden death of my nephew, who died at 21 of a drug overdose. And all of the lessons I had learned in apologetics and all of this taught me to stand on what I know, not how I feel. And that's what really helped me through that time. So I added a final verse, just all those moments that God's hand has been on my life. I'm going to try to get through it. Okay, I'll do my best. But this is called Your Grace is Enough. You made me poor so you could show me that you're all that I need. You brought me low so I could know you in your suffering, to boast in nothing but my weakness. You broke my heart to make it clean. Your grace is enough for me. Fiery arrows singe me to make beauty from the ash. You let my faith be all but trampled so it would rise from the dust. Set my foolish heart to wander, to know how wide and far and deep your grace is enough. Your grace is enough. Your grace is enough. Your face is all I live to touch and see. Your grace is enough for me. You let me stumble in the waiting, so my strength could be made new. Confounded all my worldly wisdom, so I could be a fool for you. You let me crawl across the desert, so I know that I am free. Your grace is enough for me. Your grace is enough. Your grace is enough. Your face is all I live to touch and see. Your grace is enough. Your grace is enough. Your grace is enough. Your grace is enough. Your grace is enough for me. You let me down into the darkness to be touched by death's sting, so I would look up to the light that first caused my heart to sing. And for the hope of resurrection, I will follow wherever you lead. Your grace is enough. Your grace is enough. Your grace is enough. Your grace is enough for me.
The folks in the back said I wasn't holding the microphone close enough, so I'll just take it off, and I want to come out and talk to you just a little bit. Wasn't that wonderful? I'm just so proud. As my mama used to say, if somebody had cut my suspenders, I'd float on off. Some years ago, I was privileged to hear the foremost authority on AIDS and HIV in Western Europe. And he helped me understand the problem with the HIV virus. In terms that I could understand. And Hugh, thank you for doing that as an astrophysicist to me, to help me understand some of these things and putting it in layman's terms that I can sometimes come to grasp with. You know, Hugh can, if you have a conversation with Hugh Ross, it can go this way real quick. But Hugh's really good. He's patient. Helps me understand that, as I think you were able to do today. We got so many other people like that as well. Norm Geisler could really do that to you. But at any rate, he explained to me the problem with the HIV virus in this way. When the HIV virus invades a human body, or any other body for that matter, it has the ability to replicate much more quickly than do human cells. So when our brain sends our white blood cells to attack the HIV virus as it has intruded into our body, by the time our white blood cells get to the HIV virus has morphed into something different than what the white blood cells were sent to fight. And so ultimately our bodies begin to devour themselves. Folks, that's pretty much what's happening in our culture today. The virus of wokeism, if you allow me to use that terminology, deconstructive information, is replicating so fast that our churches have not been able to keep up. In talking with Franklin Graham, we talked a little bit about Todd, forgive me, I call them mass meetings. They're not really mass meetings, but they are to me. 1,000 people in a church at any time is a big church to me, Pastor. I come from a couple hundred people being big, and when you get in some of these, and I was privileged to be a part of the festival that Franklin had in Boone. But we have people come forward in large numbers, and the Graham organization does a wonderful job of trying to put together local churches with these people when they come forward, so that there will be a place for them to hook into and to grow and be discipled in the faith. But one of the things Franklin has, and I've talked about over the years, is that oftentimes these local churches are either unable or unwilling to assimilate these people into their congregations. And so you lose track of a good number of those. That's not to say they're not saved. We just don't know. Franklin doesn't know for sure that they're plugged in. Sometimes, folks, I think the unwillingness is based on being unable to do that. And that's where SES has come in for over 30 years. We are now, and I've challenged folks today as I've walked around, I've said, tell me an educational institution in America that's able to do what SES is able to do. I've not heard of any other institution as of this moment today other than SES who has that ability to put the information that we have out there in a format that is understandable, that can take a young lady like Alisa Childers from being deconstructed to the point of where she is spreading the gospel. Not only that, but she's able to begin to answer the questions of those of her friends. That's something we've been talking about at SES for the last little while. Multiplication, that's the only way we're going to be able to keep up. We can't add as Christians, we have to multiply. And that's what SES is all about. You're going to hear tonight something very special. You're going to hear that there's a new emphasis at Southern Evangelical Seminary and Bible College. We have created a new initiative. It's called the Ross Road School of Evangelism and Discipleship. And its sole purpose is to use apologetics in delivering evangelism and discipleship to masses. And we do it by multiplication. We did a little poll not long ago. We found that in just the last few years, from our students alone, over 5,000 people have come to know the Lord. And tens of thousands of people have been discipled and had their faith reconstructed just like Alisa did. Now, there's a reason why you're here tonight. I was telling somebody I got president on mine if I can keep this thing turned around, but y'all are VIPs. That means that you've been important in the life of Southern Evangelical Seminary. So one of the main reasons of why we're having this little event tonight is to say thank you to you. We don't do that enough. Now, it may be because you've donated money to us, and we really appreciate that. I want you to know we really appreciate it, and we'll probably ask you for more money, but we're not doing that tonight. This is just to say thank you to you. It may have been that you've prayed for us. Let me tell you, I'd rather have somebody praying for me than I had somebody giving to me. Because if you pray for me, the money will come. It's that simple, isn't it, Pastor? One of the things I said at my mother's funeral, she was 99 and a quarter when she passed away. And I said this, I need 15 or 20 of you to start praying for me. Because my mama prayed for me, and you need to replace what she was doing, and it's going to take 15 or 20 of you to do it. So pray for us. But we also need you to participate with us. Look around at all of these folks who have the little lime green. Is that lime green? I guess it is. My wife tells me I'm about colorblind. The folks that waited on your tables tonight. These are students. These are friends who've come to serve tonight because they care about SES. And I want to say thank you all. You know, that's so important to have folks to tie in with us because we really need partners. That's what SES needs. That's what all of you have been, and that's why we want to say thank you tonight. Now, I'm not going to take a lot of time here to make a long speech. I'm going to really get you bored tonight. I'm going to give you a Baptist preacher talking to tonight. So I hope you'll stay for that. Because I want to challenge you. I want to give you a taste of what I want SES to become. Not only that, but I want to tell you that my goal, if I can accomplish anything, somebody asked me today, said, if you could accomplish one thing at SES, what would it be? And I said, I want Southern Evangelical Seminary and Bible College to become the champion of Christ's church all over this world. Because Franklin will tell you, BGEA knows it, Samaritan's Purse knows it, we know it, that the battle will be won or lost at the local church level. So I haven't said thank you enough. I can't say thank you enough for what you've done. There's no way that I, as the president of SES, Richard Land, Bob Wester, any of these people, none of the students, nobody can thank you enough for what you've done. But know that when we say our prayers at night, we thank the Lord for you. And as one old fellow, I was asked to go speak at a church over in Spruce Pine, North Carolina. Your daddy had a house over there, real close to it. And they had one old fellow there that was called on to end the meeting in prayer. And he's one of these fellas, Richard, that my mama used to call them flowery prayers. He just he could just bring the throne of God right down to you when he prayed. So he got to pray, and he prayed for a good long while. And now bear in mind that Lynn and I had not been married long at that time, and we had no children. And he said at the end of his prayer, Lord, we thank you for bringing this young man into our midst. May his tribe increase. So after our fourth little girl was born, I called over there to that pastor and I said, is Mr. So-and-so still alive? Yes. Is he still coming to your church? Yes. Is he still praying? Yes. I said, well, would you find out if he's still praying for me and tell him to quit? Because my tribe has increased all it needs to increase. With 4 girls, that's all I can stand. But I'm not going to tell you that. I'm going to beg you to keep praying for us, keep supporting us, keep partnering with us, because this is a grand excursion that we are on. Our time is short in America, folks. I can't say that strongly enough. I don't know when the Lord's going to break back into history, Pastor. I don't know. He's not shared that information with me. I couldn't handle it if he did. But I will tell you this, if he doesn't come back pretty soon and take his church up to heaven, he's going to miss a really good opportunity. But I do know this, that our time in America is really short. I'm not sure that America will be here when Christ breaks back into history. So if our time is short in America, dare we not be about the business of God's kingdom. Thank you so much. You are appreciated more than you can know. We love you and we thank God for you. Now, I'm going to quit. And I'm going to let this young lady, who is far more eloquent than I am, particularly with the piano and her voice. You don't want me to sing, do they, Lynn? That's Lynn with an E back there. That's Bob Wester's. I'm a singer. Yeah, Lynn tells me I'm a singer, not a singer. So, Alisa, will you come back and favor us with another number, please?
This is a song, actually, that I listened to just about every morning when I was writing my book, Another Gospel, because I wanted to keep my eyes focused on the cross. And I knew that with the battles, the intellectual battle, the spiritual battle of writing a book that was addressed to a group of people who are attacking the atonement of Jesus on the cross, I wanted to keep my eyes fixed on what I was not going to budge on. And so I listened to this song almost every day. Many of you may know it. It's called, "Oh, Praise the Name of the Lord Our God." I cast my mind to Calvary, where Jesus bled and died for me. I see his wounds, his hands, his feet, my Savior on that cursed tree. His body bound and drenched in tears, they laid him down in Joseph's tomb, the entrance sealed by heavy stone. Messiah still and all alone. Oh, praise the name of the Lord our God. Oh, praise his name forevermore. For endless days we will sing your praise. Oh Lord our God. Then on the third, at break of dawn, the Son of Heaven rose again. Oh, trample death, where is your sting? The angels roar for Christ the King. Oh, praise the name of the Lord our God. Oh, praise his name forevermore. For endless days we will sing your praise. Oh Lord our God. He shall return in robes of white, the blazing sun shall pierce the night, and I will rise among the saints, my gaze transfixed on Jesus' face. Let's sing this chorus together.